Welcome to Chroma Celebs. I'm Rose, bringing you the latest shocking updates on Sister Wives. Unexpected twists, emotional moments, and unbelievable drama. Stay tuned till the end. Suki rewrites history for KODY and two wives? In the ever-unfolding saga of Sister Wives, where the boundaries of truth, perspective, and reality often blur under the weight of emotional fallout and years of polygamist entanglements, an unexpected narrative twist recently emerged. The show's devoted viewers, who have followed the ups and downs of KODY Brown and his four wives, Mary, Yanel, Christine, and Robin, are now fixated on an unlikely new center of controversy, Suki Krishnan, the longtime tell-all host. Her recent interactions with KODY and two of his ex-wives, Mary and Yanel, have drawn attention not for her usual calm, probing, or compassionate style, but for something far more jarring: a growing perception that she is actively rewriting history in favor of KODY and distorting the truths that fans believe they've seen with their own eyes. Suki has long been a fixture in the tell-all specials, where she gently pries open emotional wounds and asks the questions the audience is dying to hear answered. But the latest season brought an unusual shift in tone. For many, Suki no longer appeared to be the neutral moderator but rather a subtle advocate for KODY's version of events. What started as mild editorial framing turned into what some fans now believe is a deliberate effort to repackage the family's implosion in a way that softens the responsibility KODY bears for the breakdown of his marriages. The alleged rewriting of history was subtle at first, an overlooked comment here, a reframing of a timeline there, but soon became impossible to ignore. The first instance that raised eyebrows came during Suki's interview with Mary Brown. Over the years, Mary has repeatedly shared her heartbreak and disappointment over her marriage to KODY, which had become a shell of what it once was. Their emotional and physical separation had long been documented, with KODY himself making statements on the show declaring he no longer considered himself married to her. Yet in this most recent sit-down, Suki seemed to suggest that Mary had exaggerated the decline, or that she had options she didn't take. Viewers were shocked when Suki, rather than pressing KODY on his dismissive behavior toward Mary, redirected the focus onto Mary's decision to remain for as long as she did, almost placing blame at her feet for not leaving sooner. It was a stunning moment for longtime fans who have watched Mary endure years of neglect and emotional distance. For Suki to recast that suffering as Mary's own choice rather than a consequence of KODY's emotional abandonment seemed to strike a discordant note. Online fan groups immediately exploded with outrage, accusing the host of gaslighting the very women whose truths she was supposedly there to illuminate. The pattern continued when Yanel Brown came into the frame. Yanel, typically the most pragmatic of the wives, has become more vocal in recent seasons about her dissatisfaction and disillusionment with KODY. Their split was not as emotionally charged as Christine's, but it carried just as much weight, particularly when Yanel detailed the ways KODY withdrew from her emotionally and spiritually. She recounted the growing chasm between them, her desire to stay rooted in Flagstaff for their children, and KODY's increasing distance from the family dynamic. But during her tell-all interview, Suki seemed to pivot the conversation toward Yanel's alleged independence, framing it as if her strong will and self-sufficiency were responsible for driving KODY away. While KODY had spent many episodes lamenting the lack of respect and compliance he received from some wives, it was Suki's reinforcing of this viewpoint that truly shocked viewers. She echoed KODY's earlier statements that Yanel acted more like a friend than a wife, subtly implying that the breakdown of their union stemmed more from her demeanor than his neglect. For viewers who had witnessed KODY's growing favoritism toward Robin, his reluctance to invest in shared holidays, and his increasingly authoritarian tone with the wives who challenged him, the reframing was both insulting and disorienting. To have those moments dismissed or minimized by a host who had previously been celebrated for asking hard-hitting questions felt like a betrayal, not just to Mary and Yanel, but to fans who had emotionally invested in their journeys. Christine Brown, who famously left KODY and catalyzed the unraveling of the family, was also featured in the tell-all, and even she noticed the shift. Though she wasn't directly challenged in the same way, the contrast in tone was palpable. When Christine spoke, Suki largely remained neutral, but the enthusiasm that had once accompanied her defense of Christine's bravery in earlier specials was missing. Instead, Suki's questions lacked their usual vigor, as if Christine's decision had already been so widely accepted that there was no longer any emotional tension to mine. But it wasn't just the viewers or the wives who noticed the change. KODY himself appeared more comfortable and confident during his segments with Suki. In previous years, he had been visibly agitated, often flaring up at lines of questioning or deflecting blame. This time, he seemed emboldened, as if the interviewer was no longer challenging him but giving him the space to shape his narrative. He spoke of betrayal, disappointment, and love lost, painting himself as a man whose efforts were never fully appreciated, whose desire for harmony was thwarted by resistance and disobedience. Suki, rather than digging into the years of conflict that brought the Browns to this point, allowed these narratives to go largely unchecked. When KODY discussed his falling out with Yanel, Suki did not mention the holidays he missed or the emotionally explosive scenes where he stormed out of family gatherings. When he talked about Mary's role in their estrangement, there was no mention of his brutal confession that he felt no romantic love for her anymore. Instead, the tell-all offered a softer KODY, one struggling, one hurting, and the narrative thread suggested he was more victim than villain. The fan response was swift and vocal. Social media platforms, from Reddit to Instagram to Twitter, lit up with accusations of manipulation. Many longtime Sister Wives followers accused the production team of trying to rehabilitate KODY's image, possibly to set the stage for future seasons that might feature him in a new light. Others suggested that Suki had been instructed to shift the tone in interviews to preserve access to KODY and Robin, who were allegedly becoming more difficult to film with. Some even speculated that Suki herself had grown weary of the wives' perspectives and wanted to bring balance to the narrative. Still, the criticism has not abated. Fan pages with thousands of members now dedicate entire threads to dissecting Suki's every word, comparing her latest tell-all behavior to previous seasons where she offered Christine and Yanel a platform to express raw emotions without judgment. A growing number of fans are calling for her replacement, saying that trust in the tell-all's fairness has been eroded. Others believe that while Suki may not have intended to rewrite history, her unconscious alignment with KODY's version of events signals a larger problem: the show's increasing desire to control the narrative. The tension has exposed the delicate dance between reality television storytelling and emotional truth. On a show where lives have been documented for over a decade, the lines between personal experience and public narrative are easily manipulated. Viewers, having witnessed the pain and vulnerability of these women, are not easily swayed by new explanations. They remember Mary's tears, Yanel's frustration, Christine's heartbreak. They've seen KODY lash out, stonewall, and retreat. To suggest now that these memories might be misunderstood or reframed through a different lens feels disingenuous to those who have followed the show for so long. At the center of this media firestorm, Suki has not directly responded to the backlash. Her social media remains active, but she has not addressed the accusations of bias or historical revisionism. Whether this is a strategic silence or an intentional refusal to dignify the criticism is unclear. What is clear, however, is that her role as a trusted mediator is under threat. If fans no longer believe in her impartiality, the tell-all could lose its emotional power entirely. For Mary and Yanel, the implications are deeply personal. They have already sacrificed years of their lives to a plural marriage that ultimately left them feeling unfulfilled and unwanted. To have their experiences reframed in a way that places them at fault adds insult to injury. They continue to speak their truths through social media and public appearances, standing firm in their versions of what happened. For them, this isn't just about reputation. It's about healing, honesty, and reclaiming their stories after years of being overshadowed by a man who once stood at the center of it all. As the dust settles on this latest tell-all, one question remains: what is the true purpose of these specials if not to give each voice its due weight? If the tell-all becomes a platform not for truth but for narrative control, then the essence of Sister Wives, its rawness, its chaos, its emotional depth, will be lost. And if Suki has indeed rewritten the story, even unintentionally, then the damage may take more than a new season to repair. In a show built on complicated love, family breakdowns, and deep emotional wounds, truth is the one thing viewers refuse to let go of, and they'll continue to call out anyone who tries to distort it. In a stunning and heartfelt revelation that sent shockwaves through the Sister Wives fanbase, Yanel Brown has come forward to address rumors, speculations, and assumptions about her sexuality, and to finally articulate what she is genuinely seeking in a future partner. The former spiritual wife of Kody Brown, who separated from him after nearly 3 decades of a complex and emotionally led plural marriage, has decided to speak her truth, unapologetically, unfiltered, and on her own terms. For years, she has been portrayed as the steady one, the logical one, the practical counterbalance to the more emotionally volatile dynamics within the Brown family. But now, the public is seeing a different side of Yanel, raw, reflective, empowered, and ready to reclaim her voice. Yanel's sexuality has been a topic of whispered speculation for some time now. Her demeanor, independence, and self-reliance, combined with her straightforward lack of visible romantic chemistry with Kody in the latter years of their relationship, led to fan theories that perhaps she identified as asexual or was not interested in romantic partnerships at all. The narrative only intensified when Kody, in an earlier season, suggested that some of his wives weren't truly emotionally invested in polygamy and may have been content without physical intimacy. While he didn't explicitly mention Yanel in that comment, many viewers assumed the shoe fit her. But after years of remaining relatively silent on the matter, Yanel has now decided to confront those rumors head-on, and what she has to say is nothing short of liberating. In an emotional interview, Yanel began by saying that she's never appreciated labels being imposed upon her. She admitted that the years spent navigating the intricate layers of a plural marriage often left her emotionally depleted, and during that time, she had very little space or energy to explore what she really wanted from a romantic relationship. She explained that she didn't lack a desire for intimacy or affection, rather she lacked a partner who saw her as emotionally valuable, someone worthy of effort and passion. Being in a marriage where she was largely treated as a logistical partner, more of a co-parent and roommate than a romantic interest, had long-term effects on her sense of desirability. She made it clear that her emotional distance was not due to an absence of sexual or romantic interest, but rather the result of years of emotional neglect. In directly addressing the rumors about being asexual, Yanel was gentle yet firm. She stated unequivocally that she does not identify as asexual and that she finds fulfillment in emotional and physical connection. Her detachment from Kody in the later years of their union wasn't born out of a lack of desire. It was the byproduct of deep hurt, unmet needs, and emotional survival. She described the exhaustion of always being the one to keep things together, the one to make sacrifices, the one to shoulder responsibilities while receiving very little in return. And after so many years of functioning in that capacity, she admitted, it took time to even remember what it felt like to be seen as a romantic partner rather than just a support system. Yanel went on to share that post-separation, she's been on a journey of rediscovery. Her focus in the early days was on self-healing and reconnect with her children. She described those first few months after splitting from Kody as simultaneously terrifying and exhilarating. For the first time in decades, she was able to make decisions based entirely on her own happiness. She took time to evaluate who she was outside the framework of being Kody's wife, outside the expectations of plural marriage, and outside the context of reality television. That freedom, she said, opened the door for her to begin thinking about love in an entirely new way. When asked what kind of man she envisions herself being with in the future, Yanel responded with a mixture of hopefulness and clarity. She shared that at this stage in her life, she's no longer interested in grand illusions or fairy tales. What she wants is mutual respect, deep friendship, and shared values. She's looking for someone who understands the importance of independence, because she's fiercely protective of her own. She wants a partner who can communicate, who knows how to nurture intimacy without control, and who sees strength in emotional vulnerability rather than weakness. Most importantly, she emphasized, she wants someone who will choose her every single day, something she never truly felt with Kody during their final years together. Yanel also acknowledged that entering a new relationship will come with its challenges. Her life is deeply public, her story intricately documented, and her emotional wounds still healing. But she expressed optimism that someone out there will understand the context of her past without allowing it to define her future. She said that anyone she welcomes into her life must be comfortable with her past, but even more invested in building a future. She won't tolerate emotional laziness, indifference, or manipulation. After surviving decades of emotional quietness, she craves emotional fluency and emotional safety. One surprising insight she shared was how her relationship with herself has changed more than anything else. She no longer waits for validation from others. For so long, she operated in a family structure that demanded constant emotional compromise. Now she's learning to put herself first, to listen to her instincts, and to stop minimizing her needs. She's embraced therapy, journaling, and even spiritual exploration as tools to help her reconnect with herself. She emphasized that this inner work was crucial because without it, she would risk repeating old patterns in future relationships. Now she's equipped not just to find love, but to recognize and honor the kind of love she deserves. Yanel also reflected on the generational impact of her choices. She spoke about wanting to be a model for her daughters and granddaughters, to show them that it's never too late to reclaim your happiness. Leaving KODY wasn't just a personal decision, it was a declaration that her life matters, that her heart matters, and that no woman should feel trapped in a relationship where she isn't valued. She believes that true empowerment comes from setting boundaries, from daring to imagine a better life, and from having the courage to pursue it even when it's scary. Her candidness has not only reshaped how fans see her, but it's also added depth to the public conversation about sexuality, self-worth, and late-in-life transformation. Yanel's story challenges the idea that once a woman reaches a certain age or exits a long marriage, her romantic life is over. She is living proof that reinvention is possible, that healing is real, and that desire doesn't have an expiration date. Her openness about her sexuality and her desire for a new kind of love invites other women to consider what they truly want, and whether they've been settling for less than they deserve. Reaction to Yanel's revelations has been overwhelmingly positive. Fans have flooded social media with messages of support, admiration, and personal stories of their own journeys towards self-love and romantic fulfillment. For many, Yanel has become an unexpected icon of midlife reinvention, a woman who broke free from a restrictive system, found her voice, and is now writing the next chapter of her life on her own terms. She has given hope to thousands of women who may be silently suffering in emotionally depleted marriages, proving that it's never too late to walk away, to reclaim your story, and to dream again. Interestingly, her comments also reignited discussion about the role KODY played in shaping the public perception of his wife's emotional and sexual identities. Throughout the years, KODY has made various remarks suggesting that some of his relationships were more like friendships, or that certain wives didn't seem interested in a deep connection with him. While such statements may have reflected his feelings, they also painted his wives in a light that many now see as inaccurate or even damaging. Yanel's forthrightness challenges that narrative head-on. By asserting that she did want emotional and physical connection but didn't receive it, she is reframing the story not as one of her disinterest, but one of his neglect. As for what's next, Yanel is keeping her heart open. She's not actively seeking a new relationship, but she's not closed off to one either. She's allowing life to unfold naturally without the pressure of finding the one. What matters to her now is alignment, finding someone whose energy matches hers, whose values resonate, and whose presence brings peace rather than chaos. She says she's not interested in changing anyone or being changed. She simply wants a relationship where both people can be fully themselves and still be deeply loved. Yanel Brown's journey from a polygamist wife to a woman rediscovering herself is more than just a reality TV subplot. It is a real story of growth, resilience, and hope. It challenges outdated notions of womanhood, marriage, and sexuality, and it offers a powerful reminder that healing is not just possible, it's transformative. Her voice, once quietly supportive and often overlooked, now rings loud and clear. She is not defined by her past, not limited by her age, and not afraid to seek the kind of love that reflects her true worth. In a world where many women are told to accept less, settle down, and keep quiet, Yanel Brown is choosing more, standing tall and speaking up. And in doing so, she's not just clearing the air, she's lighting the way.